Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hustle on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, GT Ikard, and we have a guest today that's very special to me, Tara Helgestad. Tara, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You're special to me too. I appreciate that. We've been doing real estate parallel or, kind of circling around with each other for quite a while.
It's so crazy to think back on those, like the earliest days when we first met each other.
I know.
We can get into that a little bit. But I wanted to start off just by letting you introduce yourself, tell everybody, a little bit about you and a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, what it is that you do and how you do it, all of that stuff.
Sure. So I've been a real estate agent for a while, but in 2020, I opened up my own brokerage, mainly focusing on investment properties, investments, catering a little bit more to investors and their unique needs. So I've been doing that for a while and growing my business and, learning how I can effectively help investors. I also have a traditional side of my business, which I absolutely love as well. So that's what I do, on a day-to-day basis. Before that, I had a lot of positions in banking and even as a short sale negotiator for a mortgage company. So I feel like a lot of those experiences have kind of helped me, have this investment-focused brokerage and help my clients with unique situations and things like that.
Right. Yeah, well, the investor-focused side of things lets you've got that banking background and a background with dealing with a lot of investors, and that kind of led into the investor-focused brokerage.
It did.
But it puts you in a unique place because when you're dealing with investors, a lot of those people are bulk buyers, lots of transactions, and with that comes a lot of experience closing a lot of deals, getting all those difficult deals across the finish line. And I think it really puts you in a unique advantage to help your traditional buyers.
I agree with
because
you.
you've seen so many transactions. We've talked about it before, the difference between, you can be a seven-figure real estate agent. Some people do that selling one really expensive property, but you can be with an investor-centered or focused brokerage that did that over 100 deals.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'd rather have the agent or broker that's done the 100 deals because they're all different. They all have their unique struggles, so many different buyers and sellers, and how do you, be the mediator between all of those parties. You just get so much experience that way.
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
Yeah. And yet at the same time, I still am surprised by transactions, right. Like they all are all totally different. But luckily, because I have done so many, I've developed a lot of relationships with fellow agents, title companies, experts in their field as well. So when I'm working with a client, whether it's traditional or investor, I can reach out to those people. I'm always like, hey, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, but we can definitely, find them. I'm here for you. Let's go figure this out together.
Right. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
I've seen a lot. I can tell you a lot, but we can also figure out some answers as well.
Right. Yeah, that experience matters.
Yeah.
We still just have. There's always something. There's always
you have people on both sides of the transaction and their situations. You've got the property itself. There's all kinds of things that that can happen, good and bad, and crazy all around. So just when you think you've seen it all, something new will happen.
So with this investor-centered brokerage, Lotus Realty, by the way, I don't think we said the name of it.
Oh, I probably didn't say that.
Do you help a lot of out-of-state investors?
I do.
And what does that look like? It's a little bit different, I'm sure.
Right. I have both. But yes, to concentrate on the out-of-state investors, I do have a lot of them. And they're all kind of different. Some are volume buyers, institutional buyers. So there's that side of things. They really know, what they want. They have a very specific buy box. And usually those individuals buy and hold. I do have some other out-of-state investors who buy a couple a month, one a month, one a quarter.
Right.
They're a little bit more cautious. They want to buy something that's a little more turnkey. They're looking for a place to put their money to hold for a while. but don't really want much risk. A lot of them think
Right.
about wanting to do rehabs or that sort of thing, but very few really do. So, I mean, they're all different.
Right. From a real estate agent perspective, getting in with a large institutional buyer seems like it has a lot of benefits.
That's
There's
essentially how I
Right.
how I got my feet wet working with investors. So I helped a large institutional cash buyer get started here in in Central Arkansas. So they were out there doing this in other states, had a lot of experience. I kind of learned from them their processes, how they did things, and honestly learned a lot about investing in general, just helping them get established here, rental rates, and just other things that I wouldn't have known. So
Right.
that assisted me to then be more knowledgeable, have more transactions, like you were saying,
Right.
and feel more comfortable working with more investors. And also, investors were coming to me like, "Hey, if you're helping them, can you help me? I just want to buy, 2 a
Right.
year or whatever." So
Yeah.
I have a lot of local investors who might flip or look for a few deals a year. Just a whole variety of different types of clients. But
Right.
I am seeing more and more out-of-state investors coming to our area. It's kind of hit or miss. People have, a variety of feelings about those types of things.
Yeah.
I'm seeing them as, they really are, they're providing an opportunity for an Arkansan. They might be, yes, they're buying a property that possibly an Arkansan could have purchased, but they're also providing a home for an Arkansan that wants to rent something. We have a great economy. There's a lot of growth, infrastructure, as well as population growth and other things coming to our city. We also have, affordable housing. So you can't blame them.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
My
Everybody does, but working with them, like, they're good people. They're not here to just like buy up all of our real estate and then just like head out of town. They're genuine. Most of mine, like, they're just looking for a few investment properties. They're not looking to like buy, our entire.
And they can't afford, I would always say, like, we would sell like 8 houses at a time to someone out of California because they could buy them here for less than they could buy like a parking spot in their hometown in California.
Yeah. The cost of the real estate, but also the insurance, the taxes, everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arkansas is on the map now, I think, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a hidden gem for a while. And
Yeah.
then it slowly but surely has been making a name for itself.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
I think.
Other ways, though, also on the traditional side, I'm seeing a lot of people moving to our state because they can afford, it's more affordable here and they can work from home. So that's also happening on the traditional side. I notice a lot.
There's a ton of that happening. And Arkansas is a beautiful state. So, one of our lakes that's been voted one of the cleanest lakes in the country is Greers Ferry Lake.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a broker up there last year when I was helping somebody from out of state buy an expensive lake property out there. And he said in the last year they had sold, it was close to like $60 million worth of real estate on Greers Ferry Lake. And it was like 70% of it was to people from Texas. And it's because you can't buy property like that in Texas.
Yeah.
It's either not being sold or it's way more expensive.
Yeah.
And
we have a lot to offer here. We really do.
Right.
Price-wise, but also it's a beautiful state with all kinds of amenities.
Right.
So, it's not that surprising,
Yeah.
but we as investors should take note because, a lot of these people, they want to do it because they want to do it and it's affordable. But a lot of the other people, they have a lot of research and knowledge and they know that it's a good place to invest. They know what's coming. They know where the growth is happening. And so we should take notice too. And
when you see all this hedge fund private equity money flowing into somewhere, like, you hope that it's because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so. Yeah.
Right. You hope.
Yeah.
It's funny being up there at Greers Ferry Lake because I see while you're up there, you go to eat or whatever, you can talk to people, and everybody that I've run into in the past year of being up there quite a bit is there's so many people from California, Oregon, Washington, Texas.
So how are the locals handling it up there?
I don't know. I haven't talked to many locals. They're all from like other places.
Okay.
So I'm sure they have mixed feelings about it, you know, people that were born and raised there. But I think
But also
overall
it's increasing their
good.
property values as well. And that's what I'm also telling people here too. So, you know, by having all of these out-of-state investors coming to our markets, they're increasing what your home is worth, you know, in your area. So that's also a good thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I've had so many neighbors mad at me because we're renovating the house next to them.
Yeah.
Not so many, but over the course of, I mean, hundreds of projects, you're going to have some angry neighbors for whatever reason. Some of it justified. We have a vendor that does something silly or, and some of it not justified at all.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see their transformation as an angry neighbor once they see the property renovated right, and like somebody moves in there and is actually taking care of it. It's like, you know, a lot of times these people are living next to vacant houses. And like what I would say is like nothing good happens at a vacant house.
Right.
Nothing. Like the house gets in worse shape the longer it sits vacant. Bad things just happen at vacant houses.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes in your neighborhood, takes that vacant house and makes it a nice place for somebody to live, it's a rising tide raises all ships kind of situation.
Yeah.
So
that's funny that you say that, because that's always, if I walk up to a property and the neighbor's like, "Are you the owner? Are you the agent?" You know, it's like I never really know how to answer that question because you don't know what's coming next.
I always say
are they
no.
happy? Are they like
Just
angry
like, no.
about something?
Right.
Yeah. And the other day there was one, and so I was like, "Yes," you know, and he's like, "Okay, well, you know, my name's such and such, and whenever you get that done, can you give me a call, because I want a newly renovated property, and I'm so, you know, I want to move over next door, and I have great, you know, rental history and stuff." I'm like, oh, "Okay." Yeah. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's usually one of two extremes. It's usually either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
There's not many people that are like, "Hey, do you own this place?" Cool. Just wanted to know.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, it's like, there's a reason I drive like my beat up truck and like try to dress pretty plainly. It's just like,
don't draw attention, because you never know.
I'm just working here, man. I'll let the owner know, you know, it's like,
yeah, I know. Speaking of that too, so back to the investment focused brokerage. So along with this, I was learning all sorts of things from this institutional buyer and my other local clients, flippers, things like that. And so, and also you, as you were getting into, you know, purchasing your first package and deciding to jump into investment, that kind of inspired me. And I was like, you know, I've always wanted to do this. I've always done it a little bit. Yeah. You know,
if GT can do it,
no,
anybody can do
that's
it.
not what I'm saying. I always say that to people though too. If I can do it, you can do it for sure. Like, you know, honestly, it's achievable. If I can do it, you can do it. Anyway, as a hobby, I mean, since what feels like the beginning of time, you know, my husband and I have been renovating houses and selling them, you know, just in our own personal home and a hobby and sort of, you know, that sort of thing. And so I had a friend approach me about investing, and he's also in the investment world, just like we are, finding properties for institutional buyers and so forth. And so he noticed that we were coming across all these deals that didn't work for our buyers, but were still a good deal, mainly tenant occupied, which is kind of how you also got started as well. So we started buying them and rolled along. But what I didn't think about at the time was that helps me help my clients. So by actually doing it myself, it's not like I didn't understand the numbers or didn't understand rehabs or whatever, but when you really, you know, take in the hit financially, when an HVAC goes out or something like that, like I feel like I'm a better advocate for my buyers, or have a better understanding and awareness about all of it, you know, where I thought I did before because I had the data and that kind of thing. But now
you're not just an agent that's like, "Hey, these numbers work. Cool. Like, why are you not buying this deal?" It's like, I kind of get it now.
Yeah. Like I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Like having an agent that's also an investor themselves and can understand it. I mean,
people appreciate that, but then they also worry that I'm just like out there buying up all the best deals. Why didn't you buy it? If you didn't buy it, then like it must be bad. Which is totally not true. I don't have all the money in the world. You know, it's just certain things that don't work out. Everybody's buy box is different. I mean, even like you and I, like there's all kinds of people. We're all out there looking to invest in real estate. It's a good thing to do. So there's enough opportunities for everybody out there, you know?
More than
so
enough.
What works for one doesn't work for another, you know?
There's more than enough for everyone, but also you kind of mentioned you and your husband doing this for a while recreationally and whatever.
Yeah.
what makes me sad to think about is like, I do think it is getting harder and harder for younger people to do it that way.
Yeah.
Like I've said it before, I'm worried that the days of, having an Uncle Joe that's got 5 rentals, or like knowing, Tony and he's got 7 rent houses, and that's kind of how it's been previously. But all of those people are aging out and they're selling those packages to people like me or companies, these big investment companies. And those houses are removed from the market, like, so to speak, and won't be coming back for the most part. BlackRock goes and buys a package of 200 houses. Like, those houses are rentals until the day they are demolished. Barring something weird that I don't foresee happening. Because even me on a micro scale of that, it gets to a point where it doesn't make sense to sell those assets because it makes more sense to keep them as an asset on the balance sheet and borrow against them if you need money. That transaction's way easier to just use it as an asset on the balance sheet and borrow money against it. But it's also not taxable like a sale would. So it literally just kind of gets to the point where we already have a housing shortage. Investment companies are still rapidly scaling up their growth, even in this market where people are freaking out about interest rates. There is still a ton of dry powder being allocated by these large investment funds into housing in all shapes and forms, single family, multifamily, commercial, whatever. And so that gap between, it's just kind of eliminating that starting point for a lot of
affordable housing is going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here and everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, as soon as Wall Street realized that it's a very valuable asset class, that ticking time bomb like started ticking down.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
My encouragement about that is there's still time. There's still time for your typical person to get into this.
I agree.
But that window, especially depending on where you're at, I think that window's almost closed in some markets. And why that is, this, but I'm just explaining it, is these people, like, if you had somebody that was looking for $100,000 house 2 years ago, that conversation then was likely like, this is going to be tough. Because I know who you're competing against, and it's cash offers, close in 7 days, and like no home inspection, no any of the bank appraisal stuff. You are going to have a really tough time. And that's why we're saying this window's closing. And that's in Arkansas, where that price point is still really low for an entry-level home if you want one. In these other markets, like some markets in Arizona, California, New York, Texas, whatever, I mean, you name it, Florida, that entry price point is much higher, and it's still becoming like harder and harder. So I'm just like, I'm convinced one of the best things you can do for the future, for yourself and for your family, is to figure out a way to get some of these houses for yourself. Because it no one can predict the future, but it very well may be next to impossible for like my children to buy a home.
I completely agree with you. I think it's a no-brainer.
You just got to find a way.
It's just getting started.
Get an agent like Tara that can help you.
You can do it.
Right.
No, I completely agree. And if you really think about it, whether it's their main gig or a side gig, most of the wealthy people that own real estate. And like over time, they don't let it worry them. Like maybe there's going to be a downturn or an upturn. Like in general, it's a way to build wealth. And,
protect wealth long term.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it for my kids too. I'm not worried about day to day what each rental is producing or so forth. I mean, obviously I'm keeping an eye on it, but it's,
you have to shepherd
general,
it well while you're
watching
in control
other
of it.
people, watching these other investors do it and helping them build their portfolios. I was like, this is this is good. I think I need to be doing this for my children.
Right.
Yeah.
Investing in especially single family rent houses is not a get rich quick scheme.
No.
It is not something where I need my bills paid in 3 months. So like I'm getting into real estate right now.
I think that's a huge misconception. I think people think of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so-and-so, he has 10 rent houses. He must just be like really rich, super rich. Absolutely not. He probably is spending all that profit
He's
back
hoping
in.
to
He's
cover
rolling
his
it back
overhead every
into
month.
his properties.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's net worth building, but it is not like cash in your wallet today building.
Yeah. So do it now.
There's other ways to do that. I mean, I would say you have to split real estate investors into two very broad categories. There's people that have a career that pays them well and spends off extra cash to invest in real estate. And then there are people that are real estate investors and that's what they do for money.
Yeah.
And that's just two immediate broad categorizations. There's nothing wrong with either, but it's important to like know where you're at. If you're going to go down the real estate only route, it is tough.
Yeah.
And you need to have a mix of that long-term equity, buy and hold rentals for future sake. But in the meantime, you also need to figure out like, can I like flip some properties? Can I owner finance? Can I do some of these?
You've got to get creative. You got to do a few things. You can't just,
Right. Because those rentals, especially starting out, you've got one, then you get to two. I mean, they're not going to pay you money to live on.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely
just
not.
not the
We've
way
talked
it's gonna
about
work.
this so many times.
Right.
I know.
It's just like not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
not
like,
that we thought it would be that way, but definitely when you're in the trenches and you're doing it, that's why I can help my clients, because I'm like, hey, you got to have like a lot of these, or let's find one to flip, or what about some other options or whatever. Or when they come to me looking for that, I'm like, I get it, I understand.
Right.
You're
Because it's
trying to
even
generate
worse
some
than
income.
it's even worse than I thought. Like you have to have even like more than I thought.
Yeah.
To really like
It's funny because
be okay.
when I first started buying a few investment properties, my business partner was like, have some, like I knew they were good deals. I was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, aren't like, I want you to have more opinions. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'll have some opinions once we get going. Like, I'm just one of those people, like, you just get in and do it, and then you figure it out from there. It's just that's the way I learned.
Right.
So that's what we did. And so now I'm like, oh, HVACs. Like, I can see why, you want to replace that. Like, they would always break on a Sunday when it was 100 degrees outside. Yeah, when it's super expensive to pay a contractor to get out there. Just things like that you learn.
Right.
Or the minute you take over a property, then, the tenant has 1,000 complaints. And initially I was like, oh my gosh, what did we buy? And it's like, no, it's just the process. It's kind of how it happens. And,
I would like to know the stats on like how many stoves go out on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know.
Because I feel like it
lot.
is not 1/365th. Like that is not a linear stat. Like more stoves go out on Thanksgiving, I feel like, than any other day of the year. It's like, how is that possible?
I know.
Well, that leads us perfectly into my favorite part.
Oh gosh.
So I love to, especially with you, because I feel like you probably have a bunch, to hear people's crazy stories. Just because, especially related to real estate, there's just always like a crazy buyer.
There's so many.
A crazy seller, or just a crazy like house
A showing
in general.
or something.
Yeah, there's always just so much craziness going on.
I have so many. I mean, real estate in general is a circus every day. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Like we mentioned before, you've got buyers and sellers. You've got so many people involved in the transaction that, good or bad or funny or whatever, like something unexpected is always going to happen. And I've started to become like immune to it. Like I don't even notice it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But
and then later you're like, oh wait, that was crazy.
that was weird. Yeah. But I'm like, but so was yesterday as well. So I mean, like it's always weird.
Right.
But
can I tell the joke I used to have? So like Tara, before I had my license, would always, like, we would spend one day a week looking together at these houses for this real estate investment company. And my running joke was I could always tell how bad the houses were going to be by what shoes Tara was wearing. It's like if Tara shows up in her like knee high, like leather boots, like we are seeing some rough stuff today.
And now, like almost every day, I just wear heels and I
Yeah.
don't care. It doesn't
It's just
matter.
like,
Whatever.
whatever.
I'm like so used to it now. Like
Yeah.
I could
Right.
just I could dress up in like a hazmat suit every day just to go to work if I really, wanted to prepare
I'm
for
the
my
opposite.
day.
I wear boots and jeans every day because it's like,
Yeah.
I've just had so many days where it's like,
Me too.
I left the house thinking like, oh yeah, today's not going to be too crazy. And then like flash forward to me halfway through the afternoon and I'm like
You're like in a crawl space and like something crazy's happening and
questioning all my life
I know.
decisions. Like what
That's
led
what
me
I
to
used
right
to do
here.
too. But then I would get a phone call from like, a traditional buyer and they'd be like, hey, we want to go see this house,
Right.
$400,000 house or whatever. And then I
Yeah.
was wearing my ridiculous clothes. So I'm like constantly changing or I just wear what I'm wearing right now
Yeah.
in all scenarios. And
Yeah.
just like,
It is
who
what
cares?
it is. Right. Yeah. That's some of
But-
that confidence that comes from experience. You're just like, you know what? Like,
Like I'll do, like it's so normal now.
it is
It
what it
doesn't
is.
even.
Right.
Yeah, my daughter was with me the other day, and we were looking at investment properties, and I took her to parts of town she had never seen. We saw all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
Like this is the day in life of your mother. Like this
Right.
is how it goes.
if you ever wonder what I'm doing, it's this
It's
right
this.
here.
Yeah. When I don't answer your text, it's because I'm in this house that I pulled up to. The door's wide open. Like who knows if someone's in there.
Using my phone as a flashlight.
Whatever. Yeah.
Too busy.
Yeah, exactly. But no, some crazy experiences. One time I was at a showing at a, beautiful property without a ceiling in the kitchen.
That natural lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked up and out of the rafters of the ceiling, a snake was coming down toward us. I, of course, ran out because I can't stand snakes. They're like the worst thing ever. So I just let,
And one coming
I let the
down out of the
above.
ceiling?
Like you don't
Oh,
think
it's
about, you think
way
of them being
worse.
on the floor. You don't think about them being above you.
Oh,
So
gosh.
that was terrible. I have climbed in windows, crawled through doggy doors, crawled over gates. All that we've had, approval to be there, but the lockbox didn't work. Who
Right.
knows, whatever. But we
Right.
made our way in. I had this one amazing agent who we've done many deals together, and like this one property had like 17 heirs or like something ridiculous
Right.
that everybody had to sign off. Everybody was on board, but they were missing one of the siblings and they couldn't find him.
Of
They all knew
course.
he was around, but they didn't know where he was. And she's like, I think he's homeless. Like I think he's on the corner every time I go to church. Like I'm pretty sure it's him. Let me try to track him down. So she like got the paperwork. She had her notary stamp. She had like everything she needed, and she tracked him down. And he was on the street corner, and it was completely fine. He wasn't wanting. No one
Right.
was. Everybody knew the scenario with the house. They just needed him to agree, and he agreed, and everybody split the profits and all that.
She
But she
found
tracked him down.
That's.
I'm like,
This was the other
you are a
agent?
boss. That's amazing. Yeah.
That's next level.
Which is amazing. Because,
Right.
I mean, you are, like I'm always saying, you're only as good as the other person on the other side of the transaction.
Right.
And that's why I try to build relationships. It's hard with investors because I'm sending out offers all the time. It's all about the numbers. They're
Right.
low. They make
Always.
sense for the investor.
Right.
It's what I do all day long. And honestly, I get why, people get offended or people don't like it at first. Sometimes the sellers just need a moment to
They have
kind
a
of
lot of
adjust their
sentimental attachment.
expectation versus reality, sentimental, all kinds of scenarios that I completely understand and try to stay calm and level-headed and,
Yeah.
track it until it closes because
Right.
sometimes we end up getting it months and months later. And that's another thing, like with my brokerage, like just different strategies working with investors versus traditional buyers that you have to
Following
kind of
up for months.
so
and-
much follow up,
Right.
so many spreadsheets of just checking in on things that
Right.
they were hard no
Right.
for a while, and
Yeah.
then they become like
They come back.
Then suddenly they
Yeah.
want me and my buyer.
And that's
But-
where that experience comes in again, because it's like, not only are you doing a lot of transactions, there's a lot of stuff that comes along with each of those transactions. It's
Yeah.
like all the paperwork, and it's different for a lot of different situations and
Foreclosures and short sales and things like
right.
that. Yeah,
different
there's
kinds
just-
of financing and all of that.
But any purchase is an investment. It's an investment in your future, even if
Right.
it's your personal home. That's what I'm always telling people. So,
Right.
I want to help them find all the wishes and desires that they have, but also, try to assist them to make a good investment so that they can sell it later and move on to their
Right.
next house, even
Yeah.
if they think it's their forever home.
Yeah.
But I have one favorite story I have to tell you.
Okay.
It's one of my first houses that I purchased with my investment partner.
Okay.
And every time I say cash offer, I think of this man, which I say cash offer like
All the time.
100 times a day.
Right.
But we went to his home and, looked at the house, brought the paperwork. It was very, very old school.
Right.
He had inherited this house. He had to get rid of it. It was his father's house, and it was just filled with things, and he just had a lot on his plate and needed to sell.
Right.
So we were like,
Common
cash
situation.
offer. Yeah.
Right.
Close in 7 to 10 days, or whenever you're ready
Whenever you need
because
to,
of
right.
this or whatever. So anyway, it went on for a while. He had to think about it. We left the paperwork there. Later, I went back and he decided he wanted to do it. So we signed the paperwork and whatever, just very, very hands-on.
Right.
So we made it to closing, and he arrived at closing with a suitcase. I mean, a briefcase.
A briefcase.
And I didn't really think anything of it. He was very eccentric and everything. But then when we got done signing all the paperwork, he popped his suitcase open and was ready to put the $45,000 in there. Which, having worked at a bank, $45,000 in hundreds is
right.
this much.
Yeah,
it's you could put it in your pocket, really.
Right.
But anyway, but we were like, oh, I mean, you get a check or a wire. It's not actually, it's cash, but it's cash once you take it to the bank. Not, he was so disappointed. So we laid his check in the briefcase and then closed it.
I was about to say, I would have had to have given him something to put in the briefcase.
So we gave him the check and we made it a big deal because we weren't, it was just, he just needed it. He wanted it. He was
Can we get a bigger check?
He was so happy.
Enlarge it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those big sweepstakes checks or something.
Yeah, exactly. He can fold it up and put it in there.
Yeah.
So
he was
I would have
fun.
written him torn off a piece of paper and put an IOU or something like Dumb and Dumber. He's you're gonna want to hold on to that one. Yeah. It's a big one.
I remember that. I've watched that movie so many times.
It's so funny.
I know. It is funny.
Did he have it handcuffed to his hand? I feel that's
no, but
next
that was,
level.
I feel that
he would have.
He would have. For
if
sure.
he had handcuffs handy, he would have
yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
That one's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to share one of my favorite real estate stories involving you.
I think I know which one it is.
I think you told me.
I was going to do this one. Yeah.
I think you told me it's the only house you've never actually walked into. So we pull up to the house and it's me and you, and we're with Joey,
the listing agent.
And we pull up to this house, and the couple that lives in the house is sitting at a table in the front yard, which wasn't that odd, but we go to.
It was still kind of odd. There was a lot of stuff going on in the front yard.
There was a lot. It was a little odd.
Yeah.
We start to go up to the front door. The gentleman of the couple comes and opens the front door. I'm the first one there, and then the listing agent's behind me. The guy living at the house opens the door, and I can't remember how many dogs came out. I want to say it felt like a bunch.
It felt
in
like
my
10.
memory. It was 8 dachshunds, little wiener dogs just come flooding out of the house. And that should have been my first clue.
Yeah.
But the guy goes ahead and walks in, and he's starting to apologize for the mess, which I'm very used to, because everyone's anytime you have anybody over, even if you just cleaned your house, you're sorry about the mess.
Yeah.
So he walks in first, I walk in behind him, and then the listing agent's behind me. And we walk into this living room, and it is floor to ceiling garbage with a slight walking path through this.
Path.
So if anybody's ever been in a hoarder house, this is just one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Yeah. Take a step into the house, and the floor is crunching. And
brown.
Yeah, and you start realizing that it's just because they let the dogs go to the bathroom in the house, and it's anyways.
It has created its own flooring.
Right, and so at this point, we've all entered the house, and it's dawning on me that this is not where I want to be. But I'm kind of stuck in this tunnel of trash.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in this tunnel of trash. I didn't even realize that Tara had been smart enough to be oh, wait out here.
The reason why I did was because, yes, the floor was, not actual flooring.
Right.
But also it was all the bugs. The floor was moving.
Yeah, I did not see that before I was
I
in.
went over the threshold, and then I was okay. And and I was I'm out. Yeah. I was he can see what he needs to see.
Yeah.
That was the only house that I've never been in. like that I on purpose
You
didn't
dodged
go in.
a- you
I have
dodged a
been in
bullet.
so many houses, like so many disgusting houses. Like when people send me houses, they're like, Tara, it needs a lot of work. Like, and they like try to prep me for how
Right.
bad it is. And I'm like
I've
you just
seen
have
way
no
worse.
idea like what I've
Right.
seen, but,
Yeah.
and like what you've seen. But
Right.
this one, so congratulations.
This one I think took the cake.
And you bought it.
I ended up buying it. Yeah, I ended up buying it. I told the owner absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
and he kept like coming down the price. I was like, dude.
And then they were like giving you better deals on the other houses if you take that deal.
and
Like it was, they
right.
like,
He had a package of deals for sale, and he was like, he basically ended up like, it was like the kid on like at like PE that nobody wants.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrible
That's
way
fair.
to put it, but it was like. And it was like, it was kind of a package deal with everything else. And
Yeah.
they ended up like strong arming me into taking it. But before I did, they got it vacant. They ripped everything out of that house
Yeah.
and had it like cleared out.
which I
because-
think is like we wrote it in the contract or something, or
Yeah.
like somehow we came to that agreement because it was so.
I didn't even
so
finish
bad.
the story.
And then we
like,
went into that house like after it was like a whole different house.
it's like,
It's like, okay.
it's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I can't buy it because I can't see it.
Yeah. That was the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what.
It's not like the other ones were in great shape. Like this one was just. I mean, it was not only the
You couldn't
bugs.
see
and the,
anything.
and
Yeah.
the
It was
poop, it was
awful.
like everything else. Yeah.
It was awful. We ended
Yeah.
up going further into the house, and the resident flipped on a light switch, and that's when I saw all the ceilings and walls move, and I freaked out. And
Didn't
like,
the bug get on your back in the bathroom?
oh, I don't know.
I think.
I don't know.
I
There
think it did.
was tens of thousands.
Okay.
Like all the walls were moving, and I just I turned around and I was just stuck, and I was like. It's like I'm getting out of this house. Like
She like plow down Joey.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I was like, we're out of here. Anyways,
I'm pretty sure a bug got on your back. I feel like maybe I just made that up in my mind.
I
But I
was-
feel like you were turning around and then one fell on your back, and then because I've had that happen to me too in situations like that, like where there's a lot of bugs and they get on you.
I was having some real like fight or flight. I was having fight and
Well,
flight.
I had
it was
it
like
the
I'm
minute
getting
my
out of here
foot
and I
went
will
over the
fight my
threshold.
way
I
out
was
of here.
like, no.
It was
It was
so
like you're
bad.
telling me.
It still still gives
haunts
me
you.
the heebie-jeebies.
That might have been worse than the snake. I mean, I don't know. They're both bad.
Snakes are bad. Snakes are really
Snakes are so bad, especially coming from above.
bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I had one other one.
Okay.
I had was showing a normal like traditional client, wasn't in my like headspace, like investor headspace,
Right.
Just meeting client
Right.
at a house in Alexander, like a normal
Showing.
regular showing. And I opened the door, and unfortunately it was like a new client. So
Like you
of
just met
course.
him?
Yeah. Like
First
I met
time?
him. We'd been talking on the phone for a while. I met him one time at Starbucks.
You followed
and
all your
know,
real estate agent safety protocols.
I try.
Just say yes.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, and but you should, because I've had some scary experiences we won't talk
Yeah.
about with that.
Right.
But anyway, open the door and we start to go in, and this lady comes up from like barreling up from the stairs downstairs, and she was like yelling at us, telling us to get out of her house, get out of her cul-de-sac. Like she owned the whole thing, and she was like spitting towards us. It was really weird. Anyway, she was strung out on drugs and squatting in the house. But anyway,
Nice.
we were like, just like what you were with the dog. We were like trying, like, she's got to have a gun. Like, what is happening? And then I'm like, she was acting like she was the owner. And I'm like, she's really not the owner. And they're like, we know. And I was like, okay. We had approval to be here. Anyway.
Man. That
So I ended up finding another house for them, but
Good.
just
makes
like
it
I
hard to
wasn't like
sell.
expecting it,
Right.
Yeah.
Makes it hard to
I know.
sell.
I called the agent. I was like, so there's someone,
Got a strung out squatter in
Yeah,
a house that's
and I'm-
spitting on people.
Yeah. So there's that.
I'll
let you deal with that.
I had Josh with me one day,
Yeah.
and we went to go see a house that was supposed to be vacant.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like we couldn't get the front door open, which is
It's normal.
pretty common
Yeah.
in the kind of houses we're looking at. So Josh and I go around back, and Josh probably wouldn't mind me saying this. I'm trying to get the back door open, and Josh has had to go relieve himself. So he's like,
He really had your back there in that moment.
right, he's
Yeah.
behind me doing his thing. And as I'm messing with the back door, it's like a back glass sliding door.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a curtain moves out of the way inside.
Yeah.
And this guy in nothing but tighty whities, like slams himself up against the glass. I'm
Oh,
just
how
like,
scary.
what are you doing trying to get into my house?
Were you at the wrong house, or was it a squatter? What was it? What was going on?
I never stopped to find out.
Okay.
I just started running. And I was
Meanwhile, Josh is
like, Josh, get in the car. I was just like, Josh, get in the car.
Oh my gosh.
We just go
That's worse than
running and
my
get in the
lady
car.
coming up the stairs.
I've forgotten all about that. Oh man, it's like I just hear
Like, you
Josh
never
come
know what
running
to
behind
expect.
me. Oh man.
Oh my God.
I can still just see this guy in nothing but tidy whities. He just slams his,
Who would do that? Like,
and
why
I can
would he
just
do
hear,
that? That's,
and he
that's,
like
that's a weird thing
he
to do
started
anyway,
like
isn't it?
yelling behind us, and I was just like, I couldn't think about anything but like how to run faster.
Which when you try to run faster than you can't, isn't it like that? Like your dreams, you're like,
Yeah.
oh
We
my
just got in
gosh,
the
that's
car
hilarious.
and left. I bet Zul can still find you the email.
Do you have
somewhere.
pictures?
I'm
just
sure
an
we
email?
had like a front picture,
Okay.
but I'm sure the email says something like, we had to run away from a grown man in his tidy whities. House is not vacant. Do not buy.
House is not vacant.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I showed the wrong house one time to traditional clients too. We like walked in. There were two houses for sale next to each other.
Did they
And
love
I was
it?
distracted because I had people in my car, people following me. Like
Right.
I should know how to do my job. But anyway, so I opened up the wrong house. We just come busting in because I had an appointment, busting
Right.
in on some people just watching TV in their living room. And I was like, hey,
We were supposed to
sorry.
have an appointment.
Yeah, that's
and
what
they're
I
like,
said. And they're like, I
"No."
don't think so. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, whoops. Sorry. Anyway.
We've had the
Not the
driveway.
same as-
we've had
as
the
an underwear
driveway.
man,
We've
but,
had
like,
the
whoops.
driveway replaced at the wrong house.
Oh.
Vendor's like, yep, it's all done.
Oh, no.
It's like,
I worry about stuff like that.
no,
I
you
haven't-
did the wrong house. And lady
what
called
happened? Was
complaining
she like,
about.
"Thanks for the new
lady
driveway"?
No, she called and complained
Oh.
about like having a brand new driveway. I was like, I can't do anything to help you. Like
now it was
I'm the
done.
victim here.
You don't understand how bad this is going to be for me.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, stuff like that
That
happens.
makes me feel better.
Triple check your address numbers
Yeah. In all situations.
in every situation. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
That's funny. I hadn't heard the underwear story.
I had forgotten about it until right now. Now I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Now it's like stuck in there.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, this was great. How can people find you or Lotus Realty for all their brokerage needs?
Yeah. Well, I can give you my phone number. I have a website. What do you want? Do you put it on your thing?
Yeah, you can just say like your website or.
Well, it's Lotus Realty. And my email is TaraHelgestad, Tara Helgestad @gmail.com. And my website is Lotus Realty Arkansas. So you can contact me that way too.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Awesome.
traditional side, investor side, just talking about
Real estate.
real estate in general,
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Just reach out and she'll help you figure it out.
Yeah.
Anything else? Was there anything else we didn't cover?
I'm sure I'll think of everything after
Right.
we're
We'll
done
think
here.
about all of it later.
As I
Yeah.
usually do.
The stories are my favorite part.
I know.
feel like we covered a bunch of those. So that's
We
good.
did. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching the Hustle on Purpose podcast. We hope we brought you some of the knowledge and encouragement you need to go out there and crush your goals to better provide for yourself, your family, your business, and your community. Be sure to go check us out on YouTube and Spotify and check out Tara and Lotus Realty for all your real estate agent needs. Thanks again for watching Hustle on Purpose.